All right, everybody, we are live early this Sunday morning, but afternoon in Kenya. We have the Grandmaster Rahh with us, and we're going to be discussing is the Black conscious community serious about Africa? And the reason why I wanted to cover this topic is because, now of course, you have the Hebrew Israelites. You have, I'm not African, I'm an indigenous to America movement going on. You have the Moors. You have all these groups who consider themselves to be conscious, but not African. And then within the conscious community, the few that consider themselves to be African, either they, either they don't go to Africa, or B, the reason why I came up with this platform is because, when we speak on Africa, we're not including Africans in the conversation, which I thought is odd. Like, how can we have a conversation about Africa or Pan-Africanism and the Africans not be included in the conversation? Now, Ahmed Rahh, Grandmaster, who currently lives in Kenya, became conscious and moved to Kenya. Now, back when you were in LA, Grandmaster, and a member of the conscious community, did you have all these other groups as far as Hebrew Israelites and Moors and I'm not Black, I'm indigenous to LA? Like, did you have all these groups?
No, we didn't have any of those groups popping up back in the mid 90s. That all came about when I think Blacks started to come to see on the internet that there was such a place as modern Africa, and people started going there. So I think these groups about the Hebrew Israelites, and they're not from Africa, is just a ploy. And I always say people need to realize what extent the United States will go through to stop Black people from realizing the truth about Africa. And I said a great many of them don't travel, so a great many of them just don't know. Just don't know what modern Africa is like.
And guys, if you hear the noise in the background of Ahmed Rah's there's church going on. And as you can hear, the brother is in the spirit, the pastor. He is definitely in the spirit. Everybody in the chat room, thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate you guys joining us early this morning. Now, but can you give us an idea? Because I feel like back in the 80s, and I will say the early 90s, the conscious community, from what I noticed, just from the archives, they were more serious about Africa than now. What do you think changed? Why isn't it serious about Africa as they were back when you were in America?
Yeah, I'm part of the archives. I can't believe it because it's been a long time. But back in the 80s, there was the explosion of video and video presentations. This is what people don't realize. In the 60s, 70s, they didn't have video presentation. They just basically had, like, Malcolm X would come and speak. Martin Luther King would come and speak. But to have a projection on the wall, and this is something that Dr. Yusuf Ben Yakin didn't have, but Ashwa Kwesi, one of his greatest disciples, utilized. He utilized the VHS tape and connected it to a projector. And when he talked about Africa, he put on the pictures to prove it. And even to this day, 30-something years later, he still takes groups of African Americans on tours to Egypt to show them where the actual proof of the fact that Black people were originally the masters of the earth, and that the Europeans learned everything from us. And this is another thing that I don't understand. Even a black person should be able to understand and say that it would be prudent for them to be connected to a great people who had built such great societies, as opposed to Israelites, which, what is that? Do that have a land that's not in dispute? You know, American Indians, do we even have, I mean, one building from the civilizations that they had?
You know, I'm right. You're bringing up a great point, because when it comes to the black indigenous here in America, I asked them, like, where's your land? Like, what's your language? And I never get an answer. But continue.
Yeah, it's and the culture and
the culture. Like, there's no culture. Like, you know, the typical black American. Like, where's your culture? Where's your land? You know, where's your language? And I never get a clear response. But go ahead.
Exactly. We don't have a culture. I mean, even what we consider, I'm here in Kenya. My wife is indigenous. She's part of a tribe. She's very proud of that tribe. They have a culture. They have land. They have traditions. You see, so I'm in the house with my 7-year-old daughter, and she's growing up in that culture. And then I'm like, well, what about my side? So what I can do is maybe I can slap on some Aretha Franklin or some Supreme. This is our people's music, you know. But it's actually a fail. It fails in comparison to people who have had, you know, a longer tradition. When it comes to our language, when she speaks, she hears her mother speak in her mother tongue, and she picks it up. Me. Mm-hmm. I'm here. I'm speaking, and she's learning in school. She's learning English in school, and there's a slight variance in the way I speak compared to the type of English they teach here in Kenya, King's English, and that's it. I don't really actually have a language of my own. So this is something that people gotta come to in our country to realize. It's so many things we don't have. I think the other day they had put a report out that I think half of the black people in America didn't make any money or something like that. I think Voice Like that was talking about that. There's all types of reports coming out. Hello?
Yeah, I was saying all types of reports in regards to basically black Americans are broke. That's pretty much what the reports lead up to.
Yeah, and this comes when you're being annihilated. You know, we're being secretly annihilated. They're talking about the black community is disappearing. Where are they going? They're saying to the suburbs, but you don't go to the suburb. You see a suburb, and blacks are actually, in many of these places, blacks are actually a minority in those suburbs. So these, where are we going? And the fact of the matter is, the great think tanks in the United States have figured out a way to reduce our numbers, because they never liked the fact that black people could leave in mass. And this is, as I said before, America's greatest fear in the world is not nuclear annihilation. No, it is not AIDS. It is black people jumping up and deciding and leaving the United States in mass numbers. They still consider us as property, and those are like taxpayer dollars that are going out the window. It's not what they brought us here for. We have been good. We have been a good paycheck for America for many centuries, and that's the real value of us to them. So they'd rather remove us slowly, as opposed to see us leave on our own accord. Because you have to remember, when the United States was coming up and they were saying free land and free labor, they were saying, come bring your huddled masses to us, blah, blah, blah. And they were giving away land. But how can you can give people land, but the land is worthless unless there's somebody to tilt that land. You can have hundreds of thousand acres, nobody to plow the land, no one to build on the land. So you see, the land is worthless. So when you have people to build on the land, you have to pay them. And this is where the value of the land comes in. Unless you're utilizing the people that build the land as slaves, then it doesn't cost you as much, and you can get a lot of return on your profit. This is why the South was never the same after slavery ended.
Right.
So yeah, so you see, the big attraction for poor Europeans to come here and build up the white numbers was the fact that they were telling them that you can get free land and free labor, and the labor was us, black people. So this is what you have to get across to black people that want to say that they're part of America. I'm American. I need Whoopi Goldberg. I'm an American. I'm not a black American. You lady, you that's. I mean, can you look in the mirror seriously? Huh? So yeah, but I mean, I could expect a black person, to say these things when they're surrounded by white people. They get intimidated, and then they don't have enough history of their own to back them up, to make them get emotionally charged to stand up for themselves. You see, because they can just say like their fear, and then they just give into the fear so easily. Someone like you and someone like me, for instance, like you, okay, I understand you were a football player. Now that take a lot of guts for somebody to hand you a ball, tell you go that way, and 11 guys are trying to kill you. You see what I'm saying? So you have a mentality that's to face into that difficulty, and I believe that there's a mental section there that says, you that changes you from the average person. And you just go through that hole and take on that punishment each time. And the same with me as a black belt and a martial artist, point fighter, champion point fighter. I gotta get in front of people I don't know, and they're throwing kicks and blows at me which I may have never seen before. And I have to say, okay, am I gonna stand there and take it, or I'm gonna turn my back and run away? And I stand and take it. So when it comes into a debate, or when it comes to now me facing someone who is challenging me, I can say, I can just go, give me the ball, I'm gonna take it in, you see, because I have that in me. But if you don't, I don't know how about you, but I know that it's very difficult for people like us to understand people who would get the ball and just turn around and run away, you see, because they, it's not in them like it has been instilled in us. You understand what I'm saying? So this is why there's so few of us. You really gotta have the ability to face your fears and look at the reality and accept it and say, look, it's obvious that Africa is dead. It's obvious that they lied to me about Africa. It's obvious that they're trying to suck me dry economically. And it's obvious that they're not actually helping me. Even a whole black president can go 8 years in office and then black community come out worse than it was before. You see? So you can either believe in your fear, or you can challenge your fear. Step in and take it. And unfortunately, there are very few of us black people that have that ability. And then most of those that do are called leaders.
Oh, he's getting loud now. Murat is coming in.
He's almost done, I think.
There's a movement here in America. I'm not really gonna call it a movement. It's the African Americans Aren't African movement. All right, and they're saying that since Black Americans have been so disconnected from Africa, how since when a lot of Africans sometimes when they relocate to America or come here as immigrants here in America, they don't consider us African, that Black Americans or African Americans aren't really African. What would be your response to that statement?
Okay, that's total bullshit. Total. I mean, how can you look at yourself in the mirror or even understand that go to Africa and not see that reality, not see yourself there? I mean, even the African is attracted and using our Black culture, our language, definitely our music, definitely our way of dress, you see? And they can make this transition, the young people, but the African American can't. What is he holding on to? He don't have land. what you're holding on to. You don't have no economic power. So what are you really holding on to when the African is there telling you, come home, brother? You see? So these are the things that happen with these type of groups that you say are coming up. And I have seen one on YouTube about I think a day ago, and I just couldn't believe it.
I didn't hear you say that again about a who?
I'm saying I saw a group on a video on YouTube of a group of brothers talking about they are not African. They can't relate to Africa. This is because of one or two things. Either you don't want to associate and look into your history, or you're afraid to. You got white friends, and you can't take the chance of losing those white friends by identifying with Africa. So those are what we call Negroes. Negroes are the ones who feel like, that better to please the Mzungu, please the white man than it is to upset him. And God bless them. They have that fear. But if and they can go into the book and read and see, like, the white man has kept and hidden our true history from us. Now, you and I could probably get pissed off. But somebody who don't know who don't have a heart and don't have their emotions is, oh, I better not let him know that I know about this. Otherwise, he's going to treat me badly, or he's not going to speak to me, or he's not going to pay my rent or give me a loan. Yes. So, yeah, that is just the way the mind works. But the problem is, when you go to Negro routes, you're responsible for what happened to the black community. Why don't black people have money in America? Huh? What is this thing with racism? Why is it not going away? These are the questions that a Negro has to face, because he's deciding that he's going to put all his chips in staying in America. Huh? Why is the prison system so full of black people? What is this thing that Dr. Claude Anderson keep on telling me about and telling me it's true, that we haven't moved one iota since the 1800s? No, see, but if you Negro, you taking this, your part of your culture, but part of you decide you want to stay in America and not face up to the facts that the white man, certain white people have practice racism. And racism is not about black and white, it's about economics. And if you understand the game is simple. Keep money out of black people's pockets and stop them from saving, and they won't have power to do anything. They can't raise money to lobby in Congress. They can't buy land.
Oh, hey, real quick, Murat, speaking of Congress, so the Democrats are so desperate because they didn't do well last election that Maxine Waters promised reparations for black people if they make sure if they get her, or if they win the Senate or whatever you call it. What are your thoughts on that?
Maxine Waters, huh? Maxine Waters, wasn't she there when they kept quiet? When they found out
has been in LA in office for, I guess, since I was born, since maybe mid-80s shit.
Yeah, since I was born too. She's just riding the wave. I mean, they found out that the CIA pumped drugs into the black community in Los Angeles. What did she do? Huh? She was so quiet.
Nothing.
And what came of that? Nothing. So yeah, that's just a politician talking. How many times she said something that didn't come true? I'm sure that's just something to sidetrack us, and we shouldn't even bother with that. But remember, as I said, 98% of all black people's problems would be solved if they just left the country. You don't get into a card game for 400 years and you're losing every game. What do? You don't stay for it. You don't keep on. You get up from the table. You overturn the table and say, I'm out. See? All your problems would be solved. Oh, I don't know about credit. You get credit debt because America is like that. Africans don't have that type of credit debt. So if you change your environment, your whole habits will change. This doesn't make any sense why we would even want person that will complain. Negroes should not be complaining if they're not having Africa as an option. So if I tell you that the greatest fear of the white man is blacks leaving in mass, then obviously when you even look at Africa, he's gonna jump up and take notice. And this is where we need to see, see the reality. Malcolm X talked about going to Africa. Even Martin Luther King started looking at Africa, and that's what happened to them. So if you start talking about actually leaving, unlike what Farrakhan is doing, Farrakhan is talking big, went to Africa, I think once or twice, went to Egypt, and then came back, and then he's still telling his followers, whatever he's telling them, okay, that information is really, really good. However, no land has been bought for blacks only yet in the Nation of Islam. Correct me if I'm wrong now, but I mean, I was there in the 1990s when he was when Farrakhan came up on talked at UCLA, and when he, they wanted Jesse Jackson, who had just put a bid in for president at that time. Jesse Jackson was like the big leader, and Jesse wanted to back him, and Jesse Jackson's career was destroyed because of Farrakhan. See, but since that time, nothing. Arsenio Hall, same thing. To get brought up Farrakhan on the show, the man talked a lot of sense. Next thing you know, Arsenio Hall shows off the air. One of our great black entertainers, Arsenio Hall. So there's, I witnessed all of that, and I have not, you can Farrakhan can talk to you and impress people like Mr. Farrakhan, who I respect. Can talk to you and make you understand things, and always come and tell you things that are like he's got a secret, and that you get this information and he's giving it, you're like, oh, it's so true. He make you think right there, and then you appreciate him. But when you look at him like I have over a decade, what has he accomplished about Africa? Nothing. He's borrowing money, $5 million from Qaddafi. But
okay, hold on. Real quick. Can you go into detail about that? People keep bringing that up as far as the money that Qaddafi gave Farrakhan that was earmarked for, I guess, Black America, I'm guessing. Can you go into detail about that? Do you know the story behind that?
It wasn't Farrakhan. It wasn't Farrakhan who was friends with Qaddafi like that. It was Khalid Muhammad, who went to Libya and worked in it and dealt with the Libyans in fighting the rebels. Not the rebels, but fighting the it was some insurgent group at that time. Khalid Muhammad was the one who struck all those deals for Farrakhan. So you see what I'm saying? If it was up to Farrakhan, how? What? You see? Farrakhan came on the radio and said, if you dare hurt our brother Qaddafi, blah, 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 shit. 6 months later, they murdered the Qaddafi on video. Like, who are you? What did Farrakhan have to say? Nothing. What did he have to do? You know what Farrakhan did after they murdered Qaddafi? He did the same thing he did after the Rodney King riots. The Nation of Islam did nothing. They were told not to talk. I was there. I was at the Rodney King riots. The riots was over. Black people was, still upset. During the riots, Nation of Islam was nowhere. I don't mean to talk bad about the Nation of Islam. I'm just talking facts, not bad or good, but this is what happened. And so they were quiet. So all of a sudden, I was in, I think it was in Compton College, and people were going to gather around in Compton College, and the Nation of Islam leaders rolled up talking about we're going to have a big rally in the basketball gym.
Right. But that
everybody went.
Was it that?
They did nothing but try to sell Nation of Islam to the people, and I'm like, people weren't having it. The Nation of Islam, Farrakhan, that's two different things. One is taking the gun and the militancy out of a brother and putting a bean pie in it. Taking our most militant brothers, taking the gun out their hand, putting the bean pie in it. That's what I've been saying for years. It's passive.
So let me ask you this. People in the chat room are saying that, Malcolm X and Martin Luther King said that Black people were here in America before Europeans. With that being said, are these the Black people that were here in America before Europeans? Are they still African or not? What are your thoughts?
The people that were here, nobody really knows about. Have you seen scholarly work on the people that were here before? No.
Not really, no.
No, there's no scholarly work because that's nonsense. That's complete and utter nonsense. So if one black guy happens to get on a canoe and roll from Africa and then wind up on New York shores, and then ship after ship was bringing in slaves, can we just say like, okay, there were black people here before? Of course, there were black dark-skinned people here before the white man, because he's only 8%. I think he's now 7% of the world population. He's only 7% of the world population, Mr. Negro. He's only 7% of the world population. But he's like 90% of the people in front of that goddamn media camera. And this is what makes you think he's meanie, and he's not meanie. If he was meanie in America and too many in America, he would not be calling out for the Europeans to bring their huddled masses here. They was already dying. Black people during the slavery time, black people were already outnumbering the white man. And this whole thing has been set up like that, to where he's always been watching the numbers of black people, always deciding what to do. The think tanks thought way back in the 70s, these black people is multiplying and we are declining. What are we going to do about that? Let's have a solution. And the think tanks came up with, okay, we can jail more of them, and that is why the prison population has just skyrocketed in the early late 1980s, mid 1990s today. Can anybody go back and look at the record of how all of a sudden the prison population was low, and then all of a sudden it just skyrocketed?
You're talking about post slavery, when slavery was ended.
No, I'm talking about 1990s, 1980s. The population of prisons was like this, and then it just went up, skyrocketed, because think tanks came up with a great idea. Let's imprison more of them, and that's when the FBI came up with that report about white KKK members were joining the police service, and they were infiltrating into police departments. And then after that, you start having black people being murdered by police. This thing is still going on today. It doesn't stop. I think Black Lives Matter is keeping a record of every black person that's being shot and killed by police, shot and wounded by police, choked out, house broken into illegally by the police. No, none of that. No records are like that. How are you going to be in a country that can even tell you that the major stock market is in? They can tell you how many pigs is in the United States, but they can't tell you how many black people were shot by the police because nobody's keeping a record of that? Seriously? Stay in America if you want to, people. Negroes, you stay there. Stay there. Okay. You don't have a black community now, and you're still talking about Africa not my home. Boy, you need to get you a boat and a paddle and start stroking. Because the reality of the situation is the boat is sinking right under your feet, and you see it and you don't run, and you're still ignoring the fact. And there's no reason for that. It's only the fact that you don't realize that you've been brainwashed.
Let me ask you, when you say that race is a social construct, that white people invented or came up with the term race, what are your thoughts on that?
That's semantics. That's not even what. That's just a sidestep to twist the major story. The reality, the fact of the matter is, black people outnumber white people. We're smarter than them, faster than them, stronger than them. Damn, come on now. Huh? If you at a place where they're making you a minority, and you know America is keeping a record, you know, the black population is getting too high in Chicago. Oh, we got to bring it down. Or it's getting too low in Detroit. Oh, we got to bring it up a little bit. But right now, they're all like, this got to go down, 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 because white people are not coming here anymore from Europe. And because they can't afford to come, and they went to Arabs, then they went to Chinese, they went to Asians. You see, they bringing anybody else in here to try to balance them out. And fools, people here don't, even the census, they're actually putting in the census that somebody from Egypt is white. This is how bad the numbers, they have to keep their numbers up. God bless them. But I mean, for black people, we should not be sidetracked by those type of things, stories about race this and race that. Those are just things to make us sidetrack from the original problem The problem is that blacks in America have been suffering for 400 years, and the only solution for them is to leave the country. And if you're going to go to
All right,
Israel,
oh, go ahead and finish your statement, Grandmaster.
If you know, the reality of it is, it's time for black people to. It's been way past time for black people to now move to leave the United States, and then at the same time, those people that are saying they're Hebrew Israelites, okay, yeah, where are the black people gonna go? Where they gonna go? Nowhere. We're those people that say I'm half Cherokee Indian. Where you gonna go? See, you're gonna go down to Cherokee and you're gonna miraculously start speaking the language. How much about the culture do you know? And do you know the United States is paying the Indian money every year for them to keep quiet and stay, stay to themselves?
True.
And
yeah, absolutely.
Do you know that the majority, in some places, the majority of Indians are not even Indians? They're white people masquerading as Indians.
I agree with that too.
Yeah. But you see, that's a problem with the Negro. He don't want to hear that. He don't want to read up on that. He just want to believe that if he stay close to the white man and not make trouble, that the white man gonna leave him alone. Meanwhile, when he's driving back home, he starts seeing Mexicans everywhere, and he wonders where his black community went. Meanwhile, his cousin, uncle, and brothers are in prison, and his idea is, this is madness. Right now, it's just madness. If you gonna come out with a report and say 60% of black people didn't make any money last year, come on. It's time to wake up and start over again for your children's sake, if no one else.
What so we had a couple more questions in the chat room. Oh, let me address them. First of all, guys, please get the likes up. Again, if you're joining this live stream, please share and like. If you're not able to super chat, please share and like. Also, please subscribe as well if you're not. Now, Abba Bakahari from Mali, okay, left his throne and he came to America and he landed in a part of what would be present-day Brazil. That's where he arrived to, okay? But he was still African. That's the point. He was still African. So I don't know why he's even being brought up in his argument. He was still African. He came from Mali. So yeah, I don't know. People were talking about that in the chat room, Abba Bakahari. But Abba Bakahari is the one that left his throne, gave up his throne. Chimamadu, thank you so much, family. Gave up his throne, and then after he left, Mansa Musa is the one who took over when Abba Bakahari left. He made it to Brazil, bro. That's proof. Let's see here.
Well,
but at the end of the day, he's still African. Well,
I think that we can also remember that the Haiti president was actually ousted by American CIA. Patrice Lumumba was murdered by the CIA. So for every African that might have visited there, we don't know the circumstances. And for black people to start digging up in history way back some 100 years ago, 200 years ago, it's a sad case, because their minds are geared towards trying to prove that what the decision that they made to remain in America is the right one. And it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know the whole thing, but I've heard this type of thing before, where they come up with these things from way back in the past and say that's the reason why America must be okay, because somebody did something. But America's not okay. We know that for a fact now. We know America's not okay. Half the world don't like America. So these kind of things, it just shows the mental capacity of some of our people who come up with these things, rather than come up and look at the reality of your situation today. Not 100 years ago, today, right now. This is happening right now. What happened 200 years ago is irrelevant. Consider the fact that you're going to try to have a family, what God put you on the planet for. You're going to try to get you established and have a family, and it's going to be disrupted by economic racism. It's going to be disrupted by stigmatism and the fact that you're a minority in a country where the people don't like you, okay? So if you've never left this country, you can read up on all the other historians you want to. How do that help you? If you're not planning on leaving, that means you plan on staying. And up until the last days, there's going to still be black people sitting here, sitting on their front porch while the whirlwind tornado out. They'll just be standing there and say, well, you know, that's it for me. I'm, you know, let me die with my boots on. You know, see? But the reality is Africa is your only option. Modern African is developing explicitly for you, African Americans. There are fast foods, there's this, there's that. Okay, all these things that may be harmful, but it's eliminating all of the reasons that you would say that this is what the African is doing. You know, he's not developing his own culture per se. He's developing his culture today based off what he sees in first world countries, i.e. Europe and America. And that only makes it easier for you to come and make the transition now. Because 50 years from now, it's going to be almost impossible for a black person to even leave the country or even obtain a passport. And then that means you might be having to face your children coming to you telling your dad there's no jobs out there. And that today, you're having children who they put through college, spent their last dime, went in debt, and then the student can't. The child can't even get a job in the field that they went to college for. So those are sidetracks. Those are sidetracks.
See what else we got in the chat room. Everybody, thank you everybody for joining us. I mean, you just in the chat room, you just have a lot of we're not African, we're Aborigines, we're native to the land, we're Hebrew Israelites. We're getting a lot of that in the chat room right now. What do you I mean, again, what are your thoughts on that? Why have we been, let me ask you this, why just so recently? I mean, this phenomenon is so recent.
That's because there's a lot of brothers that are leaving the United States and coming to Africa. They're not going to televise it. This brother that I told you about yesterday, I was with him, and you know, this guy, he went to Thailand. He was in Thailand for 6 years. And then decided that after 6 years in Thailand, looking, you know, being a minority in Thailand, he came over to Africa, and instantly he fell in love with the place because nobody was looking at him strangely. He wasn't a minority. He could walk around and deal with people. You see, the longer he can come and stay, and if he gets in easily into the culture, the better. You know, the guy wanted to buy wine, and you know, I don't drink wines, but we went around, and I was surprised. There was a big wine store, you know, right next to the supermarket, you know, that they just exclusively sell wines in my area that I didn't even never really notice. So I went in with him and I was shocked. You know, they had wine there for 25,000 shillings, $2,500, you know, bottles of wine and selling out of this place. And I'm like, and people was there, the place was crowded. So you see, the transition is very easy for an African-American to make into Africa. Not as easy as it would be if he went anywhere else. If he goes to modern Africa, he can live almost like an American. This brother another brother rented a house, 3-bedroom with servants' quarters. I mean, every room was empty except his bedroom. And I spent the night there a couple of times, and I was like, wow, you know, this is really elegant, you know, because the top floor, you can see the city. You know, if a black person wanted to live that lifestyle, it's there. It's there for them. So Israelites, these kind of things, you see the black people in Israel, they're catching hell. They can't even get anything going for themselves there. The Israel government is just tolerating them. You know, those are people that came from Ethiopia. Should get the message.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to brother Voice of. Thank you so much for your contribution. Please give me your address. Super chat. Oh, I'm Murat. I need to get you a postcard, man. Do me a favor. Email me your address. I'm gonna send you a postcard on Grandmaster. Make sure you guys email me your address so I can send you out your postcard if you super chat it. So Voice of Reason, I got you a postcard, and then also email EU Melanin Warrior, you as well. Go ahead and send me your email me your address so I can get you a postcard out. And let me know which one you want. I got the King of Alada and me with the Royal Guard, the Shanti Royal Guard. So there you go. Amira, why are Black Americans suffering? I mean, because we were just Wakandans a month ago. Yesterday, we're leprechauns now for St. Patrick's Day. A lot of us, even though we're Wakandans and we're Irish, and then we're gonna be the Three Amigos for Cinco de Mayo here in May, but many of us won't even show up to a Juneteenth celebration. Many of us won't acknowledge or celebrate Black or African holidays. Why are we going through such I would say, identity crisis? A lot of us here in America.
Well, I think, okay, first of all, you may seem like a lot of people that are like that, but the media is going to draw most of its attention towards those type of people that are like against Africa, and then so that's what you will see. But I'm telling you, there's a great number of African Americans like yourself who are coming over to Africa. They're keeping it low key, quiet, and even the United States keeping it low key, and they'll figure out a way how to develop and stay here. So but you're not going to see that on the news. As far as I want to say the Hebrew Israelites are concerned, I watched in many of the debates, but not anything in book form because I couldn't find any books on them. It's just the brothers that were sitting out on the corner in New York and charging people with, as if they were some sort of authority. It came from nowhere because there was no transition from it. Like you said, it just popped up. And when something just like pops up all of a sudden, you wonder who's financing them. So this doesn't make any sense for them to discuss about characters in the Bible when we all know where those characters were fake. So I don't think that we should be allowing ourselves to be sidetracked any longer because it is really getting down to a crucial point. Black people are not able to develop stable male-female headed, and therefore they cannot build communities. And for them communities, they cannot build economic prosperity. See, it all goes in line. If you don't have the money, you can't do any of these things. So when we look at the Israelites and these people that talk about they're from the Cherokee Indians, where is these nations? Who is supporting them economically? What plan do they have for their so-called people who believe what they believe? Where is this? This is just people giving out information, and the media is drawing attention to them, but they're not drawing attention to the brother who is saying, "I'm damn tired of America. My family my wife has left me because of this. The woman is yanking me for child support. I went to court. They treated me like a child. But since I'm a minority in this country, I had no recourse. I didn't have no power. I didn't have no engine to back it. I didn't have money. So therefore, I just had to take it." And this is what many Black people are doing. When they start seeing, their kids go gay, they just take it. When they see the educational system destroying, making dummies out of their children, they take it. When they hear facts about states being hidden from them, they just take it. But you don't have to take it. You don't have to take it. Get you a plane ticket and fly your butt over to a modern section of Africa. They're growing in number. They're growing in size, sophistication. I was on Facebook the other day. I had my first Burger King Whopper in 22 years. It tastes just like the same. It tastes just like the same it was in LA when I was loving the Whopper when it was $1. I don't know if they still $1. I was an athlete training every day. I used to eat 4 Whoppers. And so I used to feel guilty when I was going to the drive-thru ordering 4 Whoppers, and the guy would look at my car and see like there's nobody else, or look at me like, "Are you gonna eat these 4 Whoppers?" Yeah. I would feel bad. I'll be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna do it." But modern Africa is slowly turning into the United States. I was at the Two River Mall in Kenya, and you could just close your eyes, you would never know where you were. Driving through Kenya, it's a beautiful country. People are friendly. There's lots of opportunity out there for me. I had one martial arts school in the United States. I come to Kenya after 5 years. I'm running 29 clubs. In 5 years, I'm running managing 29 clubs. something I could never do in the United States, because, and this is another part about the problem in the United States. You know, there was this rapper that got on TV and he said that it's a known fact that you can't be rich, black, and live in your own hometown. You can't be successful and then stay in your own hometown, because the local people there, the people you grew up with, are gonna try to kill you.
So okay, well, hold on. Let me stop you right there. Now, I heard that a lot of times wealthy Africans have that same issue in Africa.
How you gonna have that same? That's a goddamn lie. You ain't gonna have that, because Africans don't have that star mentality. They don't have that star mentality. You know, Africans, some Africans here are in the belief that Americans have money, and you're naturally gonna attract them, especially if you go to the tourist section or you go out running around town spending your money, like so many black people like to do. But no, you ain't gonna have nobody coming to your house, into your car, confront you on the street, call you up in court talking about something that you could never imagine, and then telling you I can make the court thing last long, and it's gonna be worse for you if you just pay me so and such money. Blackmail, this kind of thing, that ain't no. It ain't in Africa. And besides, when Africans when they like somebody, like they see many black musicians they love, you know, they appreciate them. And if you can get an African to come out and reach his hand and talk, man, give me some money, 5 Africans that's standing around him will slap him in the head and knock him in the back of the crowd, because they ain't like that. You know, they police themselves on that issue. But this is the problem. You know what I mean? If you can't, even if you become successful, you can't even you can't even come up in your own country. You got in your own hood. You know, got to build a 9-foot wall fence around your house. You see what I'm saying? Because rich people, black people that become rich, you know, they didn't become rich overnight. They worked hard. You know, they worked hard in the system. They, you know, sacrificed so hard to get that money. And then when they come out and they buy something new, half the people, majority of the family members, is jealous of them or hate them. So they end up having to move away from all of that, because America's dying. And black people are in fear. Negroes, when a Negro see a black person come up and make it, he turns to a nigger. And that means a nigger is the difference between a nigger and a Negro. Is a Negro will just be mad, but a nigger will take action on this kind of feeling that he might have, that he's been betrayed or somebody did something to him. And you gotta watch out for them. This is another reason why would you stay in a country like that? I'm sitting here telling you that it ain't like that in Africa. Africans are not like that. That kind of breed mentality comes from people in the United States in that environment. There are white groups that secretly tell certain black people that I'm gonna pay you $50,000 and you do this. You see, the equivalent of those things are those people on roofs that were chasing the slave fast enough to catch an African. So he had to hire Africans to go catch the guy. You see, and those slave servants, you know, the slave for the master, you know, those type of Negroes, you know, and people are that way. And that's what I'm saying. You're going to be in a country where you think you're going to you got a plan to make it in life, and then at the end of the day, when you make it, this is what happens. You just need to read up on the mentality of America. America is not a great place at all. Look at I was reading a documentary on Star Wars, George Lucas. That brother, that white guy went through hell. You know, he didn't want to play with he didn't want to play with the corporations that were running the movie industry at the time. He tried to make the second Empire Strikes Back movie independently, and they still sued him. They couldn't sue him. They went and sued his director. Steven Spielberg couldn't be part of it because they was gonna go after him. Couldn't, you know, so because he wanted Steven Spielberg to direct the second movie. And I was just saying, they doing this to a white guy. You see, so I don't know what they'll do to a brother. You know. I can imagine secret deals that they came and touched on with Spike Lee and those guys, telling them what they can make and what they shouldn't make.
Somebody brought up the Gula Geechee. The Gulas, they recognize that they come from Africa.
The Gula, there again, sidetrack.
Yeah. They're
Sidetrack.
saying like somebody brought up the Gula Geechee as if they don't recognize their African roots. They do
Side,
recognize their African roots. What are people doing?
sidetrack. That's another sidetrack. You know, you can come up. I'm telling you, can we even remember what the brother said? The other brother said we can't because they try to sidetrack each other's minds like that. The fact that man, somebody put up a report about how black people who didn't make money. Let's hear that one. You can go find Gucci Gumachi, but you can't go find the fact that black people have not made money in the 1 year. What's that? What's that about? You can't find what happened with the prison system. Why all of a sudden it just blew up? Arresting people just went out of control in the mid-90s. You can't find that information. When they had the 2008 housing crisis, half of black wealth went down in that issue and during that time. Half blacks lost half the economic power in the 2008 crisis. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mae, yeah. But nobody want to talk about that. Media doesn't want to talk about that. You want to talk about some Gucci Goo guy and somebody else from 200 years ago, some king, but you don't want to talk about the realities. Meanwhile, I think, meanwhile, you do have a child. You do have children. And you working to feed them every day, but you see they're gonna grow up. They're gonna grow up, and they're gonna come out, and one day they're gonna walk out the door and tell you, "Daddy, I'm leaving. I'm going out on my own." And you're gonna shut the door, and you're gonna realize, "Damn!" And then 20 minutes later, you're gonna get a knock on the door, and it's gonna be your son. He's gonna say, "Dad, you never told me it was like this out there in the real world. Why the fuck did you raise me in this country?" Because they got all the information that you know that you're ignoring. They're going to have all that information available to them. And they're going to come back and look at you and ask you, why the hell you raised me here? You go tell him about Gucci King then and see what he tell you. We need to wake up. Time is running. Africa is growing, and the people are making a mistake by not at least looking into it.
And Grandmaster, so somebody in the chat room made this statement. Dinus, deep down, I believe many blacks think America owes them. That's why they don't show interest in leaving. We've talked about that before. What are your thoughts on that statement?
You got 400 years. You was enslaved. You was running around in Africa not paying attention, and somebody threw a net over your ass. You got caught, put on, you were brought over to a country, and your family didn't come get you, your people didn't come get you, so therefore you're out there on your own. Break it down, it's so simple. So you're enslaved. So they make you tilt the land until you die. You was a slave. That's what happens to slaves. We are not unique to slavery. It's just that's what happened. That's a fact, and part of being in slavery is that you don't get no restitutions because somebody put you in slavery. Because you didn't have power to get out. You didn't have power to get out of slavery or protect yourself from slavery. So therefore, what? That's why I try to tell you, just because black people built they were slaves, they don't get no rule to go in there and take it over. Not unless they got power in numbers and economic powers. And America is way ahead of you. So when you figure out, let's go take back the White House. Okay, first of all, you gotta get guns. They already got that covered, so you can't get guns. You're gonna have to rally up and get the troops together. They already got infiltrators all ready for that. If anybody come and try to make a plan, more than two people, they're already gonna be knowing what your plan is. See, they already got you covered here. The only thing that America doesn't have covered for you is because of the fact that they say they're the land of the free, they're supposed to give you a goddamn passport. And then when you can take that passport, and although they might grudgingly not want you to go, you can get that passport and move your ass out of the country. That's your only option that they can't cover. But they're covering it now because when I came up, I could go to Canada, I could go to Mexico. I didn't even need a passport. But they're closing the doors on you. They're closing them slowly.
I think you need a passport now to go to Mexico.
Yes. I'm telling you, Trump talking about building the wall. They're not trying to talk about building the wall to keep Mexicans out. They're talking about keeping black people in when they want to try to get away. That's what that's all about. People don't know. People just think like, if they don't see stupid. No, this is the reality. that is coming. Because somebody told me back in the 80s that they were thinking about making passports for going to Mexico. I'm like, what for? What's in Mexico? What's in Mexico that I really want? Have you traveled to Mexico? The moment you cross over to the border, the land is full of boulders and rocks. You can't build on it. You can't farm on it. You see, it's almost like it's worthless until you go deeper inside Mexico. But that's all changed now, because I think it was Clinton. He signed that deal that now all of American factories and goods is being created in Mexico. And then Bush wanted to make a thing where they just drop all the borders and just make them all one big community: Canada, United States, and Mexico. But I think there's opposition that are fighting against that. Thus, why they come talk about making a wall. Black people's days is numbered, buddy. You just don't know. We were the first minority. Now we're the second, third minority. You're gonna be the fourth minority. The Asians gonna be ahead of you, and then you'll see. Yeah. You'll see.
Let me ask you. So a lot of people. Okay, so black people, as you said, as far as who were affected by the slave trade, it's delusional to think that they'll receive reparations. They'll make the argument, well, the Jews got Israel. What are your thoughts on that argument when people say that?
Okay, the Jews are a special case. You know, when you look at the history of the Jews, I mean, Hitler was able to remove them out of power, and you know, he did a wonderful job. And then he was Time Magazine's Man of the Year, because he brought Germany back into prosperity after the Jews had just wrecked it with prostitution and all of these other things, banking and taking over the businesses. He removed them all out, became New York Times Man of the Year.
Say that one more time. Back up. You mentioned something about prostitution.
Okay, Hitler kicked the Jews out after the Jews had brought Germany economically to its knees, and all the things I'm saying, you can just go and check them for yourself. And Time Magazine recognized Adolf Hitler as the Man of the Year. I think it was 1936. And then, the Jews who have this policy that they will not stop until they get you. White people tend to have that same thing in dealing in racism. If they come after you, it's until they accomplish. They do not. And that's another reason why because you think that they're not after you, and then they're always after you. See, this is the thing. It doesn't stop. When Malcolm X talked about they were trying to kill me, once they try to kill you, it's time to go, because they're going to keep on trying until they get you. You see? That is the case of the matter. So there's no getting away from the realities if you recognize history and you study the proper history.
Now, somebody brought up the Japanese receiving reparations after World War II. What are your thoughts on that?
Reparations for Black people, as far as you think. And besides, if they gave Black people money today, when we don't have land, we don't have any economic prosperity, it just go right back into the, you know how they say the dollar circulates so many times in the Black community, like one time. You see, on Monday, they give you the money. On Tuesday, you see a lot of new Cadillacs. On Wednesday, you see a lot of pawn shops getting big, getting rich. Yeah, so even if I was Black people in America, I wouldn't even go for that. I wouldn't even go for that. And if it ever came to be Dr. Clark Anderson, God bless him, he's now becoming quiet about that thing, because it's no way it's going to really happen. There's no way America's going to give them that money, because not necessarily that they would have the money or not have the money, but it would mean that they would have to own up to the fact that what they did was wrong, and this would open them up to a lot of lawsuits, not only in America but around the world. And then the Chinese and the Russians would have a field day talking about openly what America has done. I don't know. I don't know what kind of deal the U.S. has with with Russia and China, but I mean, if they really wanted to talk crap about them, you'd be seeing it. And that brings up another point. People, I don't know if they know that the third in command in the United States, the Secretary of State, was fired by Trump.
Right. Right.
And before 2 or 3 days before he was fired, he came up with a statement came up in Africa. He was telling the African leaders that they should watch out for the Chinese because the Chinese can wreck their economy by putting them in debt from all these loans and projects that they're doing. And 3 days later, they had to fire him. Chinese are a powerful force, and you shouldn't even joke with them. You shouldn't even joke with them. They're 80% of what's happening economically as far as foreign money is concerned in the in Kenya and in the United States. They're building massive projects here, and when they build this, dam in Congo, that'll be the end of it, because this dam in Congo would be the largest, 3 times the size of the largest one today, which is in China. It's 3 times larger than that one, and it can supply electricity to almost all of Southern Africa. So
yeah, but what are the Chinese getting in return once they build this dam? That's the question.
You have to know the history of China, and it is not like America. You cannot think of China as having that they have to do something to get something economically, and this is because the Chinese are not in fear of low numbers. The country is not in fear of population decline, so they don't have to go through the same things that the United States went through. I think they've been having a one-child limit, and they're just talking about increasing that and let the Chinese have more than one child. So people didn't know they have 1 billion Chinese, and that's because and on top of that, they only let them have 1 child per family. But when they let that go, they see they got the numbers. So they don't have the same issue as the Mzungu. Mzungu means white man. They don't have the same. They don't have the same problems as Mzungu has in Europe when he was coming up and had to come and invade Africa. So they don't have the same mentality. So it was a win-win situation for the Africans. And if people don't understand it, there's a China-Africa growth policy that's publicly put on the web, and it discusses all the things that they had in discussion about what they want to give and what they want to do from both sides. Both sides developed this plan and then signed it. So it's not like the Chinese are in some secret back room that signed this and then we're going to we'll take care of it. No, it was a partnership and agreement. The African is not a dummy. He learns from his mistakes like anybody else. There's no such thing as an African that's going to exploit his people, that's going to stay in power. That's not happening. So you see the things that are happening in South Africa with Jacob Zuma being removed from power, and Julius Malema is there telling them we will not accept anything except whites got to get off our land. This is South Africa now, because they saw what happened in Zimbabwe, and they saw that the Zimbabweans did it and it worked. And so now South Africa, which has a worse land crisis problem than Zimbabweans, are now inside Parliament as a major part of Parliament, standing up and telling them to their face, white people, you're going to give up the land. You're just going to have to give up the land. That's what's happening in South Africa today, right now. You see, so yeah, so don't think like Africa is not going to change for the good. It's changing. It's going to develop, and it's going. Black people in Africa, they are moving. They are serious. You just have to look at some of the speeches that they're giving. You see, the Ghanaian president was there talking to the French president, talking about we like to hand partnership and growth. Where you get that from? Because he's seeing it happen with his African neighbors. Kenya kicked out the American ambassador out of Kenya 2 weeks. Not even 2 weeks, like a week to get out. You see, these people have power. The people down see like the African is some dummy. No, he was enslaved in his own country, and he got rid of the Mzungu. Meanwhile, 400 years later, the black man in America is there, penniless, landless, and you're just enslaved to the system. And don't have your standing army. The African has that. Don't have your national bank, stock markets. The African has that. You don't have, running governments. That's African. They go to any African country. The whole government is being run by black people. Run by black people. So I don't see what you're trying to say like Africans is dumb. Because compared to the blacks in America, take away all the rich athletes in America and then put them one-to-one to the Africans in charge, you're joking. It's not even a contest. The Africans have proved themselves. So, in fact, the Africans proved themselves so well, a lot of the pressure that that African Americans faced in the 60s was because of fear from whites saying that we ain't gonna let the same thing happen to us. That's what's happening in South at that time when it was dealing with apartheid, and Stevie Wonder went there and and joined forces against apartheid. People don't see the history because they just knew they step in now. But some of us have old enough to remember when there was no such thing as AIDS, and when Dr. Robert Gallup got on TV and started talking that nonsense, the next day there was like 6-7 people on PBS telling people that dude don't know what he's talking about. So, and it's still today. Those questions still go unanswered today, and these things are driven by mass media, and people believe mass media. I told you the black man's greatest enemy in the United States is mass media propaganda, news, sports, and entertainment. That is the greatest enemy to our people. You let yourself get educated by the news, and your mind is being tracked in a direction that leaves you at the end of the day economically and socially deprived.
Let me. I want you to address something real quick. These 2 more questions. Someone in the chat room says, "We are Hebrew people. And black people in the diaspora call themselves what they truly are. They'll start waking up and be treated better." What are your thoughts on that? Because a lot of these Hebrews that think like this, they have nothing to show for it. Like, what are your thoughts on that? This statement.
Okay, again, that's a big sidetrack. You can go stand on the corner with them and preach a gospel from a book that was created in the 1600s, and somebody still want to know how the hell that Jesus can walk around in Africa and find people named John, Matthew, and Peter. And so, how can we even discuss about Jesus when the letter J was not even introduced into the English language until the 1600s? Surely. So these things are there, questions that they just ignore, and that's the whole deal. I mean, ignore is just a part of ignorance.
But the thing is like the people who say we should call ourselves Hebrews, we should call ourselves indigenous, like, they're not doing any better than the people that call themselves Black American or African. Like, they have nothing for it. That's why I don't understand. Like, why? I mean, I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish by saying that.
This is laughable because it's a distraction. It's a distraction, and the more you stand there and listen to them, it's like a distraction. The more money that they'll get from secret societies that will allow Black people not to think and look at Africa as a solution. You get a brother in the corner telling you ain't no African. He never been to Africa, so how are you gonna get on the corner and tell people something he know? He never been there, never lived there, never had a relative that lived there, don't have no friends. Then people come up with the story about why Africans are all coming to America. Brother, they ain't all coming to America. There's 1 billion people in Africa. There ain't hardly a lot of them coming to America. And a great many of them get to America, see what's going on, and take their happy ass right back to their homeland. It's the facts, but they don't keep records on how many that go spotlight, the propaganda media spotlight that Africans are coming to America, but it ain't a great number. Considering all the African countries, all the African countries where America has embassies, and the number of people that apply for a visa because they sat down and watched some Hollywood movie and believed that America was like what they saw on television, and then said they got to go. Young person's mind can develop that, and then they focus all their attention on trying to get to America, and then the best years of their development life they wasted. I've seen and I've dealt with people like that, and it's a sad case. This is Africans, but this is not just Africans. This is a lot of people around the world. Hollywood is not just a thing to entertain you. It's going out with these movies, and people are seeing them in other foreign countries and believing that the United States is like that, and that's why they go there. So you can miss me with that nonsense about a lot of Africans are coming there. Some of the greatest universities are in America, and some of these Africans that are rich, and there are more rich Africans coming up every day, have the ability to take their kids to the United States for education, and they do that. But that generation of believing that that Africans are there, hungry Africans are leaving Africa. They know poor Africans coming to America. You think they put poor Africans to come to the United States? No, they got the rich Africans and they got the well educated Africans. If an African today, if a Kenyan today got a 4.0 on his report card, I think he can take that shit down to the embassy and he can get a ticket to the United States and they put him in a scholarship. Because that's what America does, brain drain from all around the world, bring the best minds to America. And you can't fault a country for doing that. And you see, because they see things on Hollywood, like the things on TV, like Hollywood, then these Africans, yeah, they'll go there and try to get that great education. But come the end of the day, they fall into the racism trap and they go back home. Many of them go back. How come you don't see no African community? You see Asian communities, you see Jewish communities. How come you don't see no African communities in America?
They're here. I would say this. They're here, but they're not. They don't broadcast it. Like, you're not gonna go. Here we go. Like, so take for example Chinatown or Little Tokyo, or take for example a predominantly Jewish area. The minute you enter those areas or neighborhoods, you will know that you're in Chinatown because all the writing, all the stores, everything's in Mandarin or Chinese. Same thing with Little Tokyo. Everything will be announced in Japanese. If you go into a predominantly Jewish area, everything is written in Hebrew. Now, you do have some. Okay, I see what you're saying. You do have some African communities here in America, but like if you go into an area that's predominantly where you have majority is Senegalese, you're not going to see a bunch of storefronts, or when you enter that neighborhood, everything's not going to be written in Wolof. So I do understand where you're coming from.
Where I'm coming from, because the people that are going to have economically set up, let's say a post in the United States, they're going to say that post is going to become a new immigrants can come in, and then they can develop from there. So in Africa, you have that. They have the slums there. Most of the slums are growing up right around rich areas of Africans. And you don't see that in the United States. You don't have no set home for them to come to where they can all establish. Like Harriet Tubman would have those, what you call those things on the Underground Railway, these little places where they can congregate, and then they can get there and get a free passage. You don't see that in Africa because the Africans have a mentality of get money from the United States, go back home and build a house. It is because of the exchange rate that this is happening. And that's why even in 2007, 2008, when America was going through a crisis, there's no way in hell they were going to let the exchange rate drop. In fact, it went up. I don't know how the hell during 2008, when Africa was experiencing one of the greatest economic booms of its time, and the United States was almost in a depression, that the exchange rate remained the same. So people don't really understand this, because if you would have brought the rates down, people had no real reason to go to America to make money. And this is why Qaddafi was killed, because he was about introducing the gold standard to Africa, and this would have drastically affected the exchange rate in America, and things would have been terrible. Blacks really would have been saying, "Well, why am I here when I can go make the same amount of money in Africa?" But then we don't. Negroes don't want to look at that part. It's too difficult for them to understand the ups and downs of money, blah blah blah. And so I decided to stay. Things aren't that bad. How the hell things are not that bad if you never have another place to compare it to? How can you know you're in an okay place if you don't have something to compare? And you say you want to compare it to Africa, but then the only thing you compare it with is propaganda that you see on TV, and not the reality of the situation. The real Africa that is here. So this is a sad case, but I'm happy to report that more and more Black people are coming and seeing for themselves, that modern African is real. It's a great alternative, and you can eliminate 98% of your problems by migrating to Africa. And the number one thing you can eliminate is the minority status and all of the helpless things that happens to minorities when they are a part of a system that still today sees them basically as property, as taxpayers.
So what? So how
So how
how is this gonna
how
end
is this going to
as
end?
far as for the Black American? Like in the next, where do you see the Black American at in the next, we'll say, 10 years?
You can see it. It's obvious that by the time 10 years is gone from now, you're going to see major movie stars or major sports figures actually coming and moving into Africa. You see, I was talking about Dave Chappelle a while back, and people got upset in the chat rooms talking about he never said anything bad about Africa. But he never said anything good about Africa. And there was a recent interview that he gave where he made the connection between the two. And he actually had to say America was great because he got a multi-million-dollar contract. And, you know, he had also, you know, left and actually went to Africa. And the powers that be, it's the same way with Khalid Muhammad's son, Aaron Gray.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What happened to that guy? He changed his name.
You know, changed his name, and then all of a sudden he was an instant millionaire at 14 years of age.
Right.
And this is what they do. You know, they don't want. They need to keep these kind of figures in the public outline so that you can think that Black people do have a chance to make it in America. But in the fact of the matter is that you just look up Aaron Gray 5 years from now, and you'll find out a different story. The same way you will find that if you look at the autobiography of some of the major stars. And it's not just us as Black people. I mean, when you go and look at the movie stars from the 1940s, 90% of them died broke. I mean, when you look at Red Fox, okay, not Red Fox, but I love Lucille Ball, almost dying on stage. Same with Red Fox, dying on stage because the tax man had caught them, and you know, they had no otherwise but to continue to work in the field where they were no longer, you know, their type of comedy was now obsolete. And it's unfortunate. Look at it, you know, and this is many of our great Black people are going through this today. We just don't see it. I mean, you see about so and so don't have no money, and that's the IRS. You see, Wesley Snipes, somebody you can relate to, recently tried to sue the IRS because they were just making up random numbers to take any money that he collected, you know. And this is what happens. And he made a movie outside the United States. He should have stayed out, started coming back here, and then that's when they got him. So and Black entertainers and these Black sports figures, they're gonna start figuring that out. They just cannot come up and start investing in Africa and then stay connected to mainstream America. White people won't allow that. They're fearful of that. If I'm a Michael Jordan, right, and I'm the greatest basketball player in the world, I'm getting endorsements from all these major companies that are, you know, American companies, and then I go and say I'm gonna go spend 3 weeks in vacation in Africa. You see, a great number of white people are going to turn around and start attacking his money, saying, "Oh, you know, you're going to leave America." Oh, you see, even if you don't say that, you know, what possessed Malcolm X to go to Africa? Because you have to look at that. What was he going? He going to go to Hajj? Then he going to go to in Kenya? He going go to Nigeria? I got pictures of him in Nigeria, and he's talking to the leaders there. You see. That's a no-no. You know, to make a connection way back in the 60s, that was a no-no. And today, you know, I believe that the American propaganda machine is doing a really good job of keeping our people disinterested in Africa or distracted from Africa. And some of the people in the chat room, they're hearing what I'm saying, and then they kind of come up with things to try to contradict what I'm saying, and then they have dig back 200 years ago to pick up names from somewhere, and it's a sad case. You need to just stop using the internet for a week, collect a few $300, $400, and take the trip to Africa and go to modern Africa and see for yourself. You know, and yeah, that's the bottom line. These distractions, the Israelites, these are just distractions. You shouldn't even give them 2 minutes of your attention, if you ask me, because nobody else is really doing that. Their movement is not really growing. It's just a bunch of people that fear Africa and aligning themselves with these type of groups.
Cool. Well, brother, what we'll do, we'll go ahead and close out. Everybody who joined us today, thank you so much for joining. Also, you know, whoever super chatted, thank you so much for your super chat. Brother Amirah, go ahead and close out. You know, give your closing thoughts, and please give people your contact information if they want to continue the discussion offline.
Okay, once again, you know, we just have a group on Facebook, Black Man's Guide to Moving, Visiting, or Doing Business in Africa. You can find that on Facebook. You can also look and see that the group has been there for what, 6-7 years before all of this hoopla about Africa was even taking place, because I knew this was going to come out one day, and this is surely the plan. This is what's happening. And also, as we grow older, we get more set in our ways, and then it makes it much difficult for us to even imagine coming to Africa. And this is a sad case, but if you have the ability to come and you're not sure, then I suggest you just do some more research on Blacks' treatment in the United States in our history, and see how they have covered up so much of our history. And if you don't get a feeling inside you, then okay, you stay. But if you get a touch feeling about somebody in Africa, and Africa is touching you somehow, keeps getting into your mind, and your mind keeps wondering about it, that is Africa trying to call you. And I would try to heed that call. I would suggest you heed that call. You will not be disappointed. And the last thing is family members are not going to understand you as you start to separate from the matrix. So you can be sure that if you become conscious and start discussing Africa, you're going to lose friends. Your family members are not going to understand you. But you know, I think that some of us are designed to go back, or I mean, not go back, but come to modern Africa. And some of us are not. We should not be sidetracked.
All right, perfect, man. I appreciate you coming on, Grandmaster. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Make sure you go to search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Also go to dynastymir.com, go to amazon.com, search your name, Dynasty Mir. Please buy a book, and also go to searchforhuru.com as well. Aviva, his contact information will be in the description box. So let me go ahead and put it up now. 1 second. Let me, brother, can I post your email address? I'm Rahh. Yeah. Can I post your email address? Okay.
Can you post my? I rarely use email. I'm mostly on Facebook, so that's where they can get. My email address is amenkrahh@gmail.com.
All right, here we go. Let me put it.
There's a K there.
All right, guys.
And also,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. There's no money I'm getting for talking like this, and many people around me are saying that I shouldn't do this because they have people in America and people even here in Kenya that simply because of your views. And this is true. This happened to me in the United States, and I just want to make sure that people out there know that I'm not getting any monetary gain for coming on the show and talking. And I'm not here to talk to every Black person. I'm those few that were like me, that didn't have someone like me telling them this information now, back then. So I'm just talking from the heart. Can agree or disagree, there's no problem.
Okay. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you coming on, Grandmaster. Also, go to search for Huru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you're new to this platform, please subscribe, please share, and please like the video. Everybody, again, thank you so much for coming on. Till next time, I will be back on here in about 15 minutes, hopefully, with the brother Winnie Baba in Ghana. So again, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. Till next time, peace.